What's up guys? Today we're going to be checking out Army of the Dead on 4K on Netflix. This isn't a review on the movie, I'm just going to share some of my thoughts on the audio and the video quality. First, let's go over a few tech specs. The movie was shot in 8K, it's got a 4K DI, it's rated R, runtime is 148 minutes, and the audio is in Dolby Atmos. Now I'm not sure if this is a digital thing or not, but Snyder movies usually have outstanding audio mixes. BVS and Man of Steel were reference Atmos soundtracks, but Justice League seemed mediocre compared to those, and I felt the same way about the audio mix in this movie as well. I say this because this looks to be a static mix with no objects moving through the speakers. You can tell because the yellow balls aren't moving. This part you probably saw in the trailers, so it's not a spoiler. It's the shootout in the casino. Now despite there not being any objects moving around, you can still hear the zombies in the background and bullets whizzing by. There's a bit of music in the overhead, so there's some okay immersiveness. I would have liked some more discrete effects to broaden the soundstage, but this could just be a compressed Atmos stream making the dynamics sound less than stellar. If it gets a physical release, then I'll have to come back and revisit it. Now, as for this scene and through the entire runtime, visually, this might be the 4K crispiest and cleanest movie I've seen this year. The only other one that comes to mind is Chaos Walking. Now, if you've seen any movies from Zack Snyder, he's kind of known to have some of the grainiest movies out there, 300 being the biggest one. Of course, 300, Watchmen, and the other DC movies were all shot on film, hence the grain. Army of the Dead was shot on an 8K digital camera, so there's absolutely zero grain. And it's super crisp and super sharp. Close-up shots are so detailed you can count the pores on Batista's face, and you can see all the fibers and textures in the costumes. With all this fine resolution, I did think it was easier to see the makeup and prosthetics used on the zombies. It's really easy to see during the bright shots, but during the darker shots, I thought they looked less fake. Maybe if there was some grain in the movie, it could possibly make the zombies look a bit less cosplayish and more scary. But as it is, they did look cool, and so did that digital zombie tiger. One thing to keep in mind though is that, yes, the detail can be excellent with the stuff that's in focus. Because of the lens that was used, some of the shots have a very shallow depth of field, so you might see someone's face look crystal clear, but the foreground and the background will be really blurry and out of focus. It's an artistic choice which you might or might not like. I personally thought it looked pretty good. As I mentioned earlier, I think the soundstage and dynamics could have sounded bigger and more detailed, which I also felt during the quieter non-action parts. There was some very light ambiance in the lower channels, but not much if any in the tops. I figured since they were outside in a deserted city that there would be a bigger sense of scale sound-wise, but that wasn't the case. The cool thing about some of the outside shots was the use of HDR or Dolby Vision. There's some specular highlights that'll have you squinting for sure. The sun in the outdoor shots, the casino lights, and of course, the explosions can be an eye blinder. Speaking of the explosions, I thought the bass was decent, but didn't hit as hard as I was expecting or even go that low. It was alright, but like the rest of the audio mix, I kept wanting more. As for the look of the movie, it's got a warm golden tone, so you will get that feeling that there's some heat out there in the desert. It's not vivid and colorful, but overall, there's some nice splashes of color once you get into the casino. Black levels were nice and deep with great shadow detail. It's not the deepest blacks I've seen, but it does offer up some good contrast. And I found that dialogue was always clear and centrally placed in the center channel.
Everyone loves a goddamn lobster roll.
If it's your first time here and you're into new movies and home theater, consider tapping that subscribe button for new weekly videos. Alright, for audio, I'm gonna have to give it an 8. There's some decent effects in the lower channels, but I found height channel activity to be moderately used. I thought dynamics sounded compressed and lacked a big, detailed soundstage. Bass was alright, but it didn't have the impact it should have had for these big action scenes. So when and if this drops on physical media, I'd be really interested to hear if there's a difference between the two. For video, as I mentioned, it's one crispy looking 4K. Not everything in the picture is crispy since some of the shots are intentionally out of focus, but it's real clean and really detailed. The HDR looked great, and it does have some excellent highlights. So for a Netflix 4K stream, I'm gonna have to go with a 9.5. I'm sure if this gets a physical release or comes out on the Kaleidoscape, it'll look even better. But in the meantime, if you want to watch something that'll show off your display and you have Netflix, I think Army of the Dead is worth a watch. So those are my thoughts on Army of the Dead on Netflix 4K. Have you guys seen it, and how did you think it looked and sound? Leave a comment and let us know. As always guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow us on social media, and if you want to support the channel and get exclusive content or great discounts on audio and video gear, then stop by our Patreon page. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys again in the next video.